Hi, everyone. Join us for an illuminating interview with accomplished entrepreneur and healthcare innovator Eva Allan. As the founder and CEO of Floss Bar, Eva steered the company to an 8-figure annual revenue, earning recognition for her business model innovation and social impact, including a spot in Forbes Under 30 in 2019. Having transitioned to the interim CEO at a family office, Eva brought her strategic prowess to execute a medical spa acquisition strategy. She also serves as an advisor for numerous early stage startups. In this interview, she shares key lessons from the early stages, insights on strategic innovation, boardroom dynamics, team challenges, project management strategies, and the value of soft skill in leadership. For startup founders seeking practical wisdom, this conversation is a valuable opportunity. So, Eva, over to you. How did you initiate your startup after leaving Wharton Business School in 2018? And what key lessons have you learned from the early stages of building and growing your business?
Sure. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you for having me on the interview for today, or the podcast, whatever we call it. So I started my business. It was called Floss Bar. I actually started ideating about it while I had a job at Bridgewater Associates. So it was right before business school I had the idea, and then I went to business school to transition into entrepreneurship or into finance or into something. I wanted to try multiple things, one of which was running a startup. So I came from a pretty conservative viewpoint on starting a business where, if it doesn't work out, at least I was in business school. So, let's not talk about it. Uh, so that's what I did. And some of the early learnings, and I actually have three for you all. First one is, in terms of your early hires to put on your team, make sure that you hire doers, not strategists. A lot of people really like talking about the startups and strategy, but talking and strategy is really just like maybe 1 to 2% of your day and 1 to 2% of what you need to do. You need people who are actually going to put muscle in and actually have time, and how many hours you're going to commit to the startup a week to make sure that you're actually making progress. Secondly, get an advisory board early. A lot of people really want to help with startups. So now, okay, your strategists are your advisors. Get them in there and have them meet each other so that they're actually a group. They're just not like individual pinpoint people you go to. You can actually create an advisory community around you where your advisors actually get value from meeting each other as well, not just talking to you, which makes them, one, more likely to be interested, and two, they can actually put two heads together to be able to help you versus just one-on-one chats with you. Third one, I've got on my page a lot of them for you, is the most important part of your go-to-market is your anchor client. So we were able to get WeWork as an anchor client for our startup, and then you can use the brand name WeWork to get other clients. So it's always foot in the door somewhere to get going is very important for startups, especially in the B2B space.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, what do you see first-time founders doing wrong?
Oh, a lot, and a lot of basic stuff. So then their idea doesn't actually flourish. It dies by basic mistakes, and who cares about the market when you trip into potholes all the time? One major one is the value of lawyers. Lawyers and paperwork, like you have to act like a professional company. Like if you have employees, they have to be on employment agreements. If you have advisors, they have to be on advisory contracts. If you've got vendors, they have to be on vendor contracts. Like it's not like you have to spend a ton on legal. There's a lot of programs that help startups by providing free legal work. And then also a lot of other entrepreneurs have templates for all the common situations. And so using someone's templates gets you ahead. But these informal handshake deals, like they've got to go. Problem is that like when your startup is doing well, people get greedy. And then when your startup's going poorly, people blame you. So it's like a lose-lose situation. So you need to protect yourself from that kind of stuff. So do the basics. Number two is set expectations with family. Sometimes our parents don't like that we're doing entrepreneurship. They're like, oh, go get a real job, and then they just constantly nag at you. And so it's really important to say, hey, I'm being an entrepreneur now. I'm investing in ourselves. I'm investing in our family to maybe have a big win in a couple of years, and I'm going to do it for 1 year. And we're going to see how it goes, reassess in 1 year, where am I? Is it progressing? so that they feel like they can keep quiet for a little bit and not be that constant burden or whatever in your ear. The third one is to build relationships with investors early. A lot of entrepreneurs fall in the pit hole of, okay, now I'm fundraising, now let me go contact everyone for the first time. People will believe in you if they actually were able to give something to your startup in terms of advisory early. They'll feel more invested in you and will be proud that something they thought of actually manifested into metrics. So don't be someone that uses people and only contacts them when you want something. Be someone that's adding value to others.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, reflecting on your advice about maintaining a 90-10% balance in focusing on innovation within a team and the importance of owning the IP of your core product, what broader industry trends or experiences have shaped your perspective on the distribution of innovation within a company and the risks associated with outsourcing core technology development?
Sure. So what I've seen is that when entrepreneurs are on a budget to do their technology, say it's like a non-tech co-founder, there's a lot of vendors in the space that can help with your idea. There's two kinds of vendors. One that you could be a client of, they have a software already that you can use. And two is that they are a development shop who can build your software. There's nothing wrong with a development shop that can build your software. That's great because it's all about intellectual property. But if you're going to use a vendor's software and they're like, oh, we'll build you a custom version or something, like that's great because it'll move your business model along. But then you're not a tech startup. Like you are using technology of someone else. You do not own the IP. So you're not actually building assets in your business. And then come fundraising time, you're not going to pass the tech diligence. So it's really important to think long term as well as short term. Another thing about innovation, and that's innovation, is that you like keep a tight knit group at the company that's innovating so everyone else isn't confused. Because sometimes innovation's about pivoting. And so if everybody knows, oh, we're about to pivot, oh my God, then they're going to start like deprioritizing the things they're doing that might be wasteful in the pivot that eventually occurs. But in that time gap, you still have to like achieve the thing. So don't confuse everyone because when a CEO speaks, people think it's instructions. They don't realize it's just brainstorming. So don't brainstorm with the entire company. Brainstorm with a small group or declare something. This is a group brainstorm. We're not doing anything after this. So people's brains get oriented.
Now, considering the emphasis you place on the formalities and preparations for board meetings, what advice would you offer to founders, especially those with technical backgrounds, on navigating these formal occasions effectively and ensuring they are well prepared for the dynamics of board interactions?
So the key thing about board meetings is that they should be boring. This isn't the breaking news meeting that you have to have be exciting. It's really important to make good materials beforehand. And even if they're literally 5 slides with a lot of words, like, pre-reading is really important so people are prepared. And if there's anything controversial, you've already syndicated it and maybe talked to some of the board members before the meeting so that you're going in there and it's a corporate formality, but I think it still needs to be a really big formality. Like, even if everyone's pretty chill, like this is your opportunity to practice your Fortune 500 CEO eventual skills. There's all these fun words like I and nay and roll call and motion to XYZ. Like it instills the gravity of running a company and being responsible for client success as well as literally people's incomes. So the formality makes you feel that like there's nothing chill about running a business. So don't run your board meetings that way.
Now, moving on to team challenges, because that's huge in early stages. So, how do you advise founders to handle situations where they realize they may have made a wrong choice in building their early stage team? And specifically, when team dynamics become more challenging or a member turns toxic, what steps should they take to address these issues promptly and effectively?
Well, one of the most important things to protect yourself from people risk is actually to be systematic in your organization. So for example, if people are doing something repetitive, there's a procedure guide on how to do it. You have to reduce key man risk of people, else if they become toxic, it's going to be very hard to fire them or lay them off. You don't have to call it firing. You just, parting ways. So make sure like no one is hoarding information in their heads, like someone else knows how to do the thing, whether that be actually an advisor or one of the other employees. And then, toxic people, what they do is a couple things. One, they can generate more toxic people because they'll convince people of their viewpoint who may be susceptible to being convinced or maybe a closer friend of theirs. So you're going to start this fiefdom somewhere in your organization of toxic people if it goes on too long. The second thing toxic people do is that they contact your board members, and that's bad because your board members are they advise, but like they are literally your boss. If you don't control your company, they could fire you, or they could just be really annoying if you control your company. So I would fire someone for going around me to the board. If you think of a big company, like would General Electric let an individual employee, no matter how senior, go talk to the board about the CEO? No, they wouldn't tolerate that in behavior. It's a flat hierarchy, but it's not. Like that is complete insubordination that should not be tolerated, or you should be comfortable. And then thirdly, toxic people, get rid of them faster than you think is fast. Like people say get rid of them fast, but like what is fast? To someone, it could like 2 months could be fast. I mean like this week or next week. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay for the gap, and the bill's just going to get bigger. So having to pay the business pain of getting someone away is best paid when it's a little cheaper. And if you're systematic, you've got everything written down, it's not in their heads, like they're not hoarding passwords and so on. They've had a contract, like it's less painful, and you might have to do the brave thing.
Now, what role has the RACI metrics played in streamlining projects' responsibilities within your team, and why do you emphasize including an H column in your approach?
So let's talk about what is the RACI matrix, unless, we're all MBAs and so it's drilled in our head. The RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and involved, which is different roles for people on the team having to do with a project. A project is something you're changing, an operation is something you're doing over and over. So it actually could be for both. Anyhow, so who's responsible is really the one who's feeling the pain and like has to actually be responsible. Accountable is actually like their metrics are on the line for it changing. Consulted is they don't do stuff, they just like you ask them questions, they respond, they give advice. And informed is usually the most senior stakeholder, which you need to keep informed on the project because maybe they have interdependencies or need to approve something. So the H is one that's actually not formally in the business literature. It's called helpers. The helpers are people that are just helpful and may know something or be able to do a couple tasks. There's junior helpers, medium helpers, big helpers, whatever's possible for their skill set. Now, what tends to happen is the helpers in the project, they could end up doing all the work. And then the others in the project who are actually responsible and accountable start blaming them for not doing enough to get the project over the line. When like literally they're not accountable for the project, they're just nice. And they're also like, if they overhelp, then they're gonna be too busy to do their actual responsibilities and therefore fail. I mean, not fail, whatever, they may fail. And so these having people very clearly in the matrix that are not responsible will make them less afraid to help and will reduce any potential behavior of offloading all the tasks to them.
Now, moving on to external party management, why do you advocate for compensating advisors for their favors, even if they initially offer to help without expecting payment? And how has this approach contributed to maintaining healthy and transparent relationships in your experience?
Sure. So I think the whole business sector works on social favors. People love helping other people, or at least the nice people do. And so, people who could be advisors or friends or whatnot, they'll do a couple favors for free. Everyone likes to, dabble a little, build good karma with others. So it's no reason to have a transactional conversation. At that point, just, thank them and try to give back with connections or invite them to events or whatnot, social favors, more social favors, back and forth. But when something is a really repeat interaction, like you're meeting with them multiple times a month, or you gave them over like 6 different tasks, like don't use and abuse the relationship. Like give them some shares in the business. It doesn't have to be a lot. Like advisory shares are like 0.25% or 0.5%. If they're extremely valuable and you're going to meet with them weekly or something, then 1%. Like it's not a huge part of your business, especially if you need them. So if you have that and you have a contract that says, we will meet once a week or whatnot, then you don't have to use going back to them as a social favor that you will run out of. You're actually, they're part of your team.
Now, why do you emphasize the significance of not skipping small talk in a professional setting, particularly highlighting its role in team dynamics? And what other soft skills contribute to a positive work environment?
Yeah, small talk. People don't like small talk. I like small talk. Like if you unleash me at a cocktail party, I will talk to everyone and not get tired, but not everyone is me. And I think meetings they start inherently awkward. Like you're all doing this formal thing together. Like you have to break down the barriers and break the ice with something. And being more personable about, things outside of work or things you're learning is really helpful to break down boundaries in there. It doesn't mean that your small talk has to be like something extremely private. Like, don't tell people super private things if you're just not sure what to say. It's like a good one, if I have no idea what to small talk about, is I just talk about coffee. Like, yeah, I drank a strong coffee today. Really excited for the meeting, like no, everyone likes coffee or food or something like that. I had something really interesting last night. Went to this restaurant, just something basic, quick is not a problem. Something that I personally avoid is actually that a lot of people do, and it's okay they do, but I'm awkward about it, is talking about your family or vacations. And the reason I actually don't do that is because there's always a bias towards business women and like being too family oriented, unfortunately, which like needs to change in society. But like I don't want to double down on that. Like why can't I talk about a boyish thing? I don't know. So I just like keep family conversation out of it. And then the weird thing about vacations and sun is like everyone's like, oh, now I should take a vacation, or like this person's taking a vacation. So it starts a vacation chain. Like I literally saw that in the metrics. Someone like just starts a vacation chain, which like you want people go on vacation, but not all at the same time. And you want them focused on work. Another good small talk is actually something you read, which is good intellectual engagement with the company. So choose from those kinds of topics to warm everyone up.
Now, any final word of advice for first time founders?
Yes, I think that jumping all in is really scary for people. As business school folks and other professionals watching this podcast, leaving those golden handcuffs or that trajectory that's inherent in the MBA, I think is really hard. Something that I actually haven't seen people do is just like take a job until you flesh out your idea. And then when you're ready with your idea, you've got some proof, someone believes in it, then leave your thing. Like why is this whole thing of like you have to jump in feet first? Like jump in when it's the right time to jump in. Something that I've seen some people recently doing that are actually executives at banks. What they're doing is they hire someone who's an intern, like they use their money from their job, hire someone that's an intern, and then have that person do stuff to move their startup project along and then make the decision. So they're both mentoring, giving a job, and keeping their job and have the intellectual engagement. And then when they're ready, they hit go to accelerate the project. So there's many ways to do it. Don't fall into this trap of like the whole my only thing gets funded by BC, like I have to jump foot in. Like just think about different ways to build businesses, because you can actually build fairly large businesses with a non-traditional approach.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very, very useful. And I truly appreciate what you do. And then I think this kind of support and guidance obviously like takes people a long way. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.